Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio. Brought to you by OnPay. Built in Atlanta, OnPay is the top-rated payroll and HR software anywhere. Get 1 month free at onpay.com. Now, here's your host.
Well, welcome to Small Business Fuel Radio. I'm your host, Paul Wilson Jr. I'm the area director of the UGA Small Business Development Center at Georgia State University. And of course, we use this platform to educate, inspire, and uplift small businesses. And of course, we want to provide you with the resources that you need to be successful. And so, of course, the guests that we bring on this show, definitely they're going to bring expertise, insights, and resources to help you, again, navigate just the environment that you're in right now. And so I'm excited today. We have another incredible guest. I'm going to introduce him. So for some, I'm introducing, others I'm presenting. But again, I'm delighted to introduce to you Ashley DeBell. Ashley serves as the SBA Regional Administrator for Region IV, as well as he is also the Entrepreneurship Policy Advisor of the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council. As the SBA Region IV Administrator, Ashley oversees SBA programs, offices, and operations across the southeastern United States, where thousands of aspiring and existing entrepreneurs receive high-quality assistance, including SBA-backed loans. Ashley recently served and was appointed by the President as the White House Policy Advisor for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. He is the SBA's point person for the agency's role in the nationwide Opportunity Zone effort. Ashley is a seasoned entrepreneur, having opened the doors to his first business while he was still in law school at age 22 in the heart of Gainesville, Georgia's African-American community. A lawyer by trade, Ashley began his career as a public defender and went on to become a trial attorney and co-founder of a law firm based in Atlanta, Georgia. He brings an enthusiasm and commitment to his work at SBA and the White House, born out of a personal understanding of the challenges and successes small business owners face. He knows firsthand the transformative power and positive impact they have not only on the lives of their employees, but also on the communities they serve. These personal experiences fuel Ashley's dedication and tireless tenacity to promote opportunity zones and the mission of the WHORC, which was developed as part of the President's commitment to all Americans, including those living in underserved and rural communities. Ashley, he's received many accolades for his demonstrated leadership. Notably, he was recognized in 2016 as one of the top 40 young lawyers by the American Bar Association. He was a 21st Century Leadership Fellow at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government and holds an honorary doctorate from Lighthouse College. Ashley earned his law degree at Louisiana State University, home of the 2019 National Champion Fighting Tigers. It has been said of him, Ashley is a true leader, skilled communicator, and a devoted advocate for the small business community. He's a strong voice for small business owners across the country. Ashley shares his life and his love with his wife, Lauren, and their 3 children. Please welcome Mr. Ashley Bell to Small Business Fuel. Ashley, that's a mouthful.
Hey, bro, I thank you for taking the time to say all that. You know, this is, I just try to shorten my bio to just try to be helpful. And I appreciate you allowing me to be with you today to be helpful to those who are taking the time to listen with us. And I know you do that every day with the work that you do at the SBDC, and we appreciate you for that. And I've enjoyed working with you. And I hope that this conversation is one of many that we can continue to have about how we can all strengthen our economy and our small businesses that need it so desperately right now. So I thank you for your time, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Definitely, again, definitely my pleasure of having you. And one of the reasons why actually I did want to read that, and in particular, it was the areas that spoke to, right, you being an entrepreneur. Because oftentimes people think of, those who work in government as being kind of disconnected from many of the policies, let's say, that they either oversee or implement. But I think it's important for people to, as a business owner, and what experiences do you bring to the job in your role as the administrator from being an entrepreneur?
Well, I can tell you, Georgia State is just a prime location downtown Atlanta. And I started, my law firm was one of the first businesses. I've started probably 4 or 5 or 6 businesses in my life. Like every entrepreneur, some did really well. My law practice did really well. My retail chain that I started at 22 did really well. But I started, my law practice in a very, in a small room, 2 blocks from MLK, downtown Atlanta. And a 300 square foot room if that. And then, here we are, 10 years later, we're in, 6 different states from New York to California, a multi-million-dollar firm that has national litigation. So I know what it's like to start from, have an idea in your head and a dream in your heart and wanting to find a way of taking care of the people you care about, which are your family and all the people who you want to serve. For me, it begins with when I was, 21 years old and I wanted to start a retail chain because I grew up in Gainesville, Georgia, where I lived in what many people have across the country and around the city and the state, retail desert.
Right.
Many of us come from communities that are called deserts. You have retail deserts, you have healthcare deserts, you have food deserts, just places and spaces where capital isn't flowing and innovation can't thrive because of systemic issues that our country has faced, especially minority communities. Right. So I know what it's like to want to start something in those neighborhoods. And I did it when I was 21 for one reason. I wanted to be able to hire people who I knew I went to school with and who lived in my neighborhood, who nobody else would hire because they had been previously convicted. They have had troubles with the criminal justice system. But I knew if I was an entrepreneur and if I put on my application, just tell me about your character, tell me about why you want to work here. And I don't make them check a box that could box them out of an opportunity that I can make a difference. And ever since then, that's what I've been trying to do.
Absolutely. And that's significant, right? Because again, we know a lot of people have made mistakes, but the opportunity to be able to kind of pick yourselves up. And that's, also the beauty of being an entrepreneur, right?
Yep.
Of in some cases, not having the same type of barriers, although there's different barriers, but different types of barriers, right? As you're a business owner, and get an opportunity to start a business. And so, of course, we're in a very challenging time, right? Coming through, this pandemic. And the federal government and the SBA really turned very quickly, right, to create a disaster loan program of something that we've never seen, unprecedented in terms of just the amount of, right, the amount of the program. So could you speak a little to just this overall kind of SBA disaster loan environment? A lot of people have heard about it, but also the impact that it's made, if you have any information you could share about that.
Yes. So the CARES Act was passed bipartisan, in both houses of Congress, and it was negotiated by the president and Secretary Mnuchin to be a shot in the arm to the economy that was desperately needed as we, as a nation, asked our friends and family to social distance, to close their stores so that people could remain safe and we could save lives. And because of that request, a very noble request, America did what it had to do. We sacrificed. But now during that time, we wanted to make sure that people did not, lose their jobs and we didn't destroy families by not having the resources they need to survive during this time as they stayed home and stayed safe. So the CARES Act is something the president negotiated. It gave us an opportunity to create the payroll protection program, which has been the iconic piece of legislation that just past week proved to be successful. We've been losing jobs by millions every week. And for the first time, we saw the results of the payroll protection program hitting the economy, and the economy created 2.5 million jobs, over 2.5 million jobs last week for the month. Right. And what's great about that is that you saw 283,000 of that go to African Americans. You saw 683,000 of that go to Hispanics. So I think that you're seeing, this CARES Act has put us in a situation where it's working. So what it does is it's a public-private partnership to where the banks can get the money out directly to you. But here's a challenge for people like you and me who work with those businesses that need help. What you and I will see more than not are people that can't afford to pay somebody else to fill out their PPP application.
Right.
And so They come to you because you're at the SBDC and you can give them that technical assistance. And I think that this is where the heart of where we are now. We have $130 billion left in that program. So if you listen to this today, the money's still there. We need people to come to your SBDC. We need people to get technical assistance because right now the businesses that need it aren't applying because they think it's too complicated. They think it's too cumbersome. We just passed last week the Payroll Flexibility Act. The Payroll Flexibility Act gives way more flexibility to the program. So now 40% of your loan that you get from PPP, you can go to putting back into the economy to pay your bills instead of the 75%. So we increase that to allow 40% to go back into paying bills. 24 weeks to cover up to 24 weeks to cover your payroll instead of 8. We did everything we could to create flexibility. So we hope that people will reach out to you, reach out to SBA office, our great Director Terry Dennison in Atlanta, and make sure you take advantage of this program. The money is there. It is a critical piece of the puzzle to get people back on the road to recovery.
I agree definitely with every point you just made. And one of the things, again, like that challenge that we have seen is misinformation and people coming to us and telling us why they're ineligible, but they never applied. Right. And then we're kind of having to unpack and unwrap like, no, that's not true. Right. There's still money available. You can still go get this loan. Right. Because you fit the criteria. And so absolutely, education is a big part of what we do and just helping people really understand what's really available, to them from that standpoint.
Right. So, I think that, what we have to do going forward is continue to let people know the resources are there through the SBDCs for technical assistance, to continue to let them know the actual banks are accepting new customers. But then I think, what we have to do is think about, what happens next, right? So by forcing everyone to go to a bank, it reaches all those people that you and I know may have had no banking relationship before. Right. So now we're forcing tens of thousands of minority and women and other entrepreneurs into the system. So now we have to make sure that now that they're there, this is when you and I work together to say, look, now that you have this banking relationship, let's make sure you understand all the ways that you can leverage credit and debt to grow your business. So yes, you got a PPP loan that we want to make sure is forgiven, but you ever thought about having a micro loan? Something that could put you on a bankable spectrum to get you to being able to have ability to leverage credit and debt, because it's not just about having debt for debt's sake. We want to make sure people have strong cash flows, because strong cash flows allow people to be invested in. And that feeds into other things that we've seen promoted in this administration, which is like opportunity zones. If I'm going to get an opportunity zone fund to invest in an opportunity zone business, they want to see cash flow. Best way to have good cash flow, know how to leverage debt and interest, credit.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, you talked about people kind of being forced to engage with banks who may not have done it before. And I think what we've also seen is that people, this is the first time many of them been introduced to the SBA, right? Or even the SBDC, and many business owners not realizing all the resources that actually were already available. But now they're seeing, right, things that they can take advantage of in addition to the disaster loans. And you mentioned a couple of those programs. So maybe there's a couple other things that people need to know about the SBA that they don't know if they've only seen it from the spectrum of the disaster loan, but the other resources that are really available to them as a business owner.
Yeah, so I think that the key is that you want to make sure that you understand the 3 C's with us. And that's, yes, we help you get access to capital. So whether that's a PPP loan, which you can turn into a grant, whether it's our disaster loans, whether it is SBA 504 7A, let's figure out how we can help you get access to capital to grow your business. And then, I think it's also the counseling arm, working with SBDC and our SCORE friends, making sure that you're not in this alone. People are really good at, what they're good at. They're good engineers, they're good computer techs, they're good lawyers. But that doesn't necessarily mean that none of us would have got an MBA or we're good at business. And so we want you to, have that technical assistance so you can be better at business to make sure your profits are strong. The biggest, so one of the saddest stats we have out there is that minority entrepreneurs have 30% of the profits of other counterparts, meaning that they have the exact same amount of gross receipts, but only have 30% of the profits. Now, that right there is a technical assistance issue. That means that we have to find a way of making sure they know exactly how to invest in themselves, invest in their businesses, negotiate better leases, negotiate better contracts with vendors, because that 70% that they're wasting could be put into growing their business, hiring more people, and expanding their footprint.
Absolutely. And that's a significant portion. I know John Hope Bryan on the call we're on recently even spoke to the issue of, 95, 96% right of minority entrepreneurs across the country are solo entrepreneurs, right? Only have one employee. And that speaks to that need for capacity building, right? And the resources that are available to really help these businesses grow. So then it can be not just businesses, but also help drive employment for many communities that actually need job creators right in those communities.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that call was a great example of what we can do together and what our opportunities can be, exactly because we have, that call had 109,000 people on it. And that call allowed us to reach people that needed to be reached who just normally wouldn't have been interested in hearing about a government program because they haven't seen it work for anybody that they know. So we were able to put on the call people that had pastors, faith leaders who now are eligible for SBA funds and SBA programs. We had T.I. on the call who was, an entrepreneur himself, able to talk about, what he is doing in the community to help promote small business and entrepreneurship. But I think that's just a big part of it for all of us right now is how can we talk about that taking your business to the next level. Don't just it's survival right now, but we're flipping the switch to focus on recovery, but take the challenges that COVID has presented and use them as an opportunity.
Absolutely. And speaking of recovery, of course, want you to talk a little bit about your role with the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council and what you're doing across the country in areas of entrepreneurship and even minority entrepreneurship.
Well, I appreciate that. My role at the White House right now has been one that has allowed me to travel the country, get a chance to meet phenomenal entrepreneurs across the country. And I think that, being able to advise this president on the roles of entrepreneurship and the role entrepreneurship plays in our country has been impactful. And I hope that my advice as it comes to crafting PPP policy, as it comes to making sure our CDFIs are put in a position to really, reach that last mile of entrepreneur, the folks that are hard to reach, has been beneficial. What we saw in the second round of PPP, one of the things that I was happy to advocate for was the fact that we set aside $10 billion for community development financial institutions and then gave them access to the federal portal through the Payroll Protection Liquidity Fund. It basically takes CDFIs, local community credit unions, and local institutions that many are minority owned and led to give them access to cash so they can get it to the community, places that people know, people that they're comfortable with. And I think that's been important. And so I'm in Dallas right now, traveling with the White House to make sure that we're continuing that message all across the country to make sure that people know the policy that's being put forth has been only been beneficial because we're listening. We talk to small businesses. We make sure that they are able to communicate directly with people like me. I will meet you in your neighborhood. I'll meet you at the barbershop. I'll meet you at your Black Chamber of Commerce. And then we will figure out together these best policies, and I'll take that back to the White House. And that's why we've been successful, because we've been working together from a community-driven, results-driven perspective.
Absolutely. And that's what's critical, right? It starts at the top, but it has to get down to that grassroots level where the individual businesses are operating to really understand, right, what's really available and here. And I think that's one of the key things that I understand what your role is. So you're listening, right, to what the needs are at the ground level, right, of these business owners. So then it can be brought back to those who actually have the ability to actually write those policies.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that, what's unique about it is that, we haven't seen an administration have policy advisors in the field. Policy advisors for most federal government positions, they live in DC. They're in the bubble. They're in the Beltway. But having policy advisors that are in the field, able to advise on policy that they're seeing actually affected in the field in the community is an important change. One that I think this administration did that was spot on. It gives us a chance to be out here talking to folks like you every day. When you tell me, hey, Ashley, these banks are not having the technical assistance needed to do these, independent contractor loans for PPP, are these, sole proprietors. We need to figure this out. And that gives me a chance to not only just hear that firsthand and talk to those folks, but go back to the White House and say, look, this is exactly what I'm seeing. This is exactly how we need to streamline these applications. We can't make it overburdensome on those that already are at a disadvantage. And I think it's been important. And so we've seen a tremendous effect by, getting outside of DC and going into the community and listening to folks and then taking back that information to create good policy. Absolutely.
And so, as I mentioned at the very beginning, you being an entrepreneur and as we think about recovery, from your personal experience as an entrepreneur, what would you share, maybe 2 or 3 things to an entrepreneur right now who's kind of facing that crossroads and trying to figure out, okay, what do I do now as you move forward you have a government position, but you're an entrepreneur too. Anything that you would share?
Yeah, I think the best advice I would give folks, and I'm still an entrepreneur, and I'll say this, it's like that song, don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Mm-hmm. You have to always be thinking about what's going to happen next. And right now, things may be uncertain, but what we do know is that if you are in certain sectors of this economy, the way you do business is fundamentally changed forever. And that's not a bad thing. That just means it's time for you to do what you do best. Innovate, be creative, find efficiencies, find ways of reaching new markets. Because the businesses that come out of this are going to thrive are going to be the ones that we're thinking about how can they best serve the new economy? How can they make sure they're using technology to best benefit them? And that is the number one thing I can say. Technology will change at the speed of the conditions of the marketplace. And the marketplace is changing. people who do not invest in technology and do not invest in making sure that they can access people and information quickly, those are going to be the businesses that we will have a hard time keeping after this thing is over with. So I know for a lot of folks that's been in business a while or you just got into it, technology seems like something that may not be as important to you, but I guarantee you it will make or break what happens next. There are efficiencies out there being created every day. Don't get stuck in your same old status quo. Sometimes we used to say when I was in my had my retail business, it was you get worried about your for sure money and don't worry about more money. You think about that money that's sitting dead in front of you and the money you're making, and you're not thinking about that money that could be coming in.
Yeah,
so that's just the reality. You got to focus on how to expand your business and not get too bogged down with the crisis that we're in.
Absolutely. Well, any final thoughts around on any of the topics that we've already discussed that you would like to share with our audience?
Oh, no, brother. I just want to thank you for taking the time to have me on with you today. And I really appreciate you being on the call we had with TI. I think that was a historic call for a lot of reasons. It pulled together a lot of good people with a lot of good messages. And you've been at the forefront of that. Your work at the SBDC has been phenomenal. We're lucky to have you in the state of Georgia. We're lucky to have you at SBDC. If anybody is looking for technical assistance out there, I hope you just let them know how to find you. And we're here to support you 100% of the way. And I look forward to continuing our journey together as we help America recover.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And again, definitely appreciate your time. I know you're traveling on the road and taking out the time again to speak to the people who need to hear what's available, and definitely appreciate the relationship and the resource partnership we have between the SBA and the SBDC. So thank you again. And thank you to all of our listeners. And again, hopefully again today was some very powerful information to help you navigate forward. And of course, we are available as the SBDC. So if you want to learn more about what we can do to help you, just go to our website at www.georgiasbdc.org. And so thanks again, and look forward, stay tuned for our next upcoming podcast. You've been listening to Small Business Radio. Again, my name is Paul Wilson Jr. I'm the Area Director of the UGA Small Business Development Center at Georgia State University, and look forward to talking with you again soon.
Today's episode of Atlanta Business Radio is brought to you by OnPay. Built in Atlanta, OnPay is the top-rated payroll and HR software anywhere. Get 1 month free at onpay.com.